Okay, so I've got my main roof form coming together, but I need to make some more of these little porch roofs over the little entries and other things that you have projecting from the building. So as you can see, I've done a couple of these extra separate little roofs down here, and I'm going to do a couple more along this side just to show you basically the process involved there. And so you can see here is one of them. And it's probably best to make them first before attempting the doors and the other openings that you have inside there. If you can though, I'd be looking at making that door family. Just start with, if you haven't made it, just start with a door that's similar. And so this would be basically a double door with, you can see there, a panel to the left that's probably fixed. And then you've got the fan lights above. And so if you can't find anything else, just use one of the basic double doors, and then you can try and modify that family as you work with it. But wait until you've done that porch area. And so the roof there is essentially what defines it, and then you have those piers that are supporting it. And so it's in this area roughly there. So you can see this one is right next to the tower, which goes up on the left here. Let's go back and show you. So that's the tower, and so it fits in between. We've got also a pier coming down there, which is possibly, I'm going to say, might have been an old chimney, but no, it looks just like a pier. Don't know what that's, might be a riser or something. See if we can pick it up in another photo. Yeah, so that's something that you probably won't have on the floor plan, but if you can relate it to something, it's essentially in between the two, also to one side of the window bays. So going into my plan view, well, I want to work now with the windows, so a little extra thing I'll show you there is how to get the windows to show up in the view when you don't see them. And this will happen quite a lot with a project like this, where you've got lots of little level changes, and so you won't always see different things that are at different heights. So remember, for any plan view, you can go into the view properties. Remember to get view properties, make sure there's nothing selected, and here it says floor plan, so I know nothing's selected, and it's giving me the views property for the floor plan. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll see view range. Edit there, and that gives you the cut plane. So hopefully most of you have tried that before. The cut plane is an essential setting, really, in most floor plans. Okay, so I'm going to bring that cut plane up higher. I'll make it, well, I'm going to take it as high as possible. So 2000 should still pick up any doors associated with this level. So apply, and that's made the change. And now I can see all of the windows on this left-hand side here, which is associated with building C. If I wanted to see the windows for building B, then I'd need to bring that cut plane even higher. So I'll click OK there, just to show you. If I select one of those windows, it'll show me the sill height. And the sill height's only 430. But that's from building B. So to really work this out properly, we've got to have a look in the section. Okay, so I'm using the ground floor of building C as my base level. And then this window here is in building B. And so if I measure from the base of that window down to there, you can see it's actually 2.5 metres. To the level C ground floor, which is really too far. I don't want to take the cut plane up that high. So there's another option though. I'll show you that. Okay, so these windows are okay, and actually I'll just bring that section line down so we can pick up one of those. So these windows, even though in properties they're being measured from building B, they are the windows for building C, and so if I measure from the base of that window down to there, it's a little bit over 1.5 metres, so 1600. So remember the cut plane's going through at 2 metres, and so it's going to pick up those windows, but again these ones get missed out. So back to here, and again just to remind you, the cut plane you set in view range down at the bottom of your view properties, and you also have the top and the bottom. So that's really important for plans, but you don't want to always adjust the setting globally. So you have an extra option for plans on the view tab. Under plan views, you can create plan regions. And so with a plan region, you can set a new view range for part of your plan. So I'll choose that plan region, and I'm just going to make a window over this area. In fact, I won't draw with a line, I'll draw with a rectangle over the top part of that building there. And the bottom, I'll just try and keep it mainly to the outer wall there. I don't want it to go all the way through, I just want to get part of it. So later when I put the doors in here, I might adjust the view range to bring it around those as well. So I'll finish that. And then you can see the plan region just gives you one setting, view range. So if I go to edit there, and I'll bring this cut plane right up to 2.5 metres, well let's make it 2600. Apply, and it's giving me a message because my top is lower than the cut plane. So this top here has to be higher than that cut plane level. So I'll make that 2700. Apply. Okay, so now I can see the windows in that building. So that's a really useful thing when you have windows at different heights. And it won't print. You can hide it though if you want to, if you don't want to see that dashed line. Okay, so that makes it easier to then set out my porch area. So I'm just going to quickly measure this one just to see what I made it. 3 and a bit metres. Measure what I've got left over here. Yep, that's good. So remember there's a little pier there. I'm going to show you a good way to make piers as well, or projections from an existing wall. So I see a lot of people trying to modify the main wall to do a projection like this, when really a much simpler way is just to draw in a new wall. This one is generic 300mm. So I'm going to go and draw a new wall, still with generic 300mm. I'm going to set the location line to finish face interior. And then I'm simply going to draw over the edge of this wall and come up a little way. So it's not a very wide pier, we'll check the width in a minute. And you can see it's just butting up against the other wall. This one is set to the top at level 1 CL, so I'll select my new wall and set that to the same level. And it looks basically the same. In some displays you might still see the line. I can't because it's all black, but if you've got a pattern or a different colour there and you want to hide that line that's in the middle, another tip there is to use join geometry and join those two together, and it looks like one continuous element. So that's a really good way. If you need to do projections, don't fiddle around with different wall thicknesses and things like that, it just creates extra work. So that gives me the set out for my pier there, but I could even look at the photo and see, well, we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4 exactly measured across. And it's late, so I will not multiply in my head. 4 by 240, 960. Should have been able to work that out, but anyhow. So that's what it is. Whether we want to make it that, yeah, may as well, I suppose. So that then helps me to work out the area my roof needs to go. And I'm just going to draw it in this view. So now to roof by footprint. So notice I haven't drawn the other walls for the piers. I'm going to do that afterwards. And because I'm on the lowest level, Revit has asked me if I want to change it to a different level. And so here, because I don't really know the height of this roof yet, I'm going to choose something that's close. And for a roof, an extra roof like this, I wouldn't bother making a level just for it. I would just move it manually to the height I want afterwards. So level 1 CL, or, sorry? Oh yes, of course, yeah. Oh no, so I'm going to say ground floor CL, what am I saying? Okay, so, yeah, sorry, I thought I had 2 CLs there, that's the one I want. So ground floor ceiling level is the level it's going to start on, but I'm going to move it afterwards anyway, you'll see. So I'll just say yes to set the height, and then we've got the overhang. And again, looking at this, you can see it does have an overhang on either side, but because of the way I'm going to make this roof, I'm going to set it to not have an overhang. So the overhang's most useful when you use pick walls, but I'm going to use pick lines. And so there, it's got an offset, which is kind of like the overhang, and I'm going to leave that on 0. Right, so I'm going to pick the edge here, which is the side there that's up against the wall, and then it projects probably about 600. Well, I'm just going to make it 600 because that's what my other eaves were. So I'll just set my offset now to 600. But remember, it works differently to overhang. You'll see what the difference is when I show you the height. So back to pick lines. That's a bit of a trick there. It resets it to 0 if you stop it and start it again. So I'm just picking the edges of the wall here. Really important that you don't use pick walls, even though you are picking walls, because if you use pick walls, it'll set the height in a different way. So now I want the other edge to butt up against that that pier. So again, with pick lines, I can just pick that edge and this one, and now I'll just draw a line that's set out from the building. So I'm not being too fussy about the location of that line because we can move that backwards and forwards and it's not going to affect the roof so much. So I'm really just thinking about the shape of the roof in plan, the footprint of the roof in other words, and we're using the roof by footprint tool, so that makes sense. So it looks a little bit complicated, but really it just needs to slope from this edge and from this edge, not from this one. Because if you look at the image again, you can see the slope comes from down here, and you don't need to set it to the edge going along the wall there. So when you're thinking about the edges that define the slope, try and keep them to a minimum. And for a gable roof form, you should only need 2 edges usually. So this one at the top, this one at the bottom. I'll turn define slope on, and then I can set the slope over here. Just like before, I'll use 27.5, which is a kind of standard slope for a lot of older roof shapes. Click to finish, and it disappears. Because I'm in the plan view, it's above my plan level. So in my elevation from this side, which is going to be my west elevation, I'll open that up. We can see it there. So there's the roof. Could be a bit narrow. So if we realise it's based on my window set out, that probably, looking at this now, these windows I think might need to move over. I haven't checked their position, but if they do need to move over, and this pier moves over as well, it's a simple thing to move the roof over, and then the slope will be taken from the new location. And then the height is again a simple thing because I'm not making a level for this. I'm sort of setting the height manually, in other words. So if we look at another image where we can maybe work out the height, sorry, going back the other way, there was some, here we are. So you can see it's roughly starting at the height of that the transom there, the middle of the bottom of that window. So here roughly should be where the roof projects from. So I can simply select the roof, and using the arrow keys I'll just nudge it down. We're not remaking this, you're not going to rebuild that roof, so as long as you've got it roughly in the right location, that's all that matters. And that's it in 3D. You can see it there fairly clearly. And so then once you have that located, I'd probably go a bit further and work on those window positions which I can again see in the photo here, and you can check that as well. Yeah, so it's a bit different to what I've drawn. So once and you can count bricks going across to work with that properly. I've obviously done it too narrow, but then you can model the piers in underneath the roof. And like I was saying, don't try to use pick walls there to set the slope, because it'll probably end up being uneven. Pick walls works a bit differently. And it's that easy. Verify footprints are really quick and easy tool most of the time. It's just that the example I've started with, showing you these more complicated ones, it can be tricky working out how to project from different walls, and that's where it gets more involved. But for a simple roof like that, it shouldn't be difficult at all. Well, I'll just leave that one there. And so it'll be a really good exercise though to work on over the holidays, having a go at all those roof forms. So there are two others on this side of the building. You've got one that comes out here, and then another one further down as well. But I'll just leave that there.